All right, what was the comments? Who said that? Oh, Brian Burke, as GTA said. Here we go again. Hello, everyone. Good to see you guys. I'm meteorologist Brian Good. It is about 49 minutes after 9 on this Thursday, day 4 of severe weather. Aren't you guys excited? This is a pattern that has been relentless on rounds of thunderstorms and heavy rain, flooding. We've had some damage in winds and some wind damage, but we really haven't had a ton considering the pattern. Normally, we get much more in an MCS type setup, but flooding is always a concern, and that has been, I think, one of the bigger issues, and it will remain up there on the list. I do think damage to winds is going to take a little bit more of a front seat on this today, and even an isolated tornado threat will be there today compared to what we've had in previous days. But flash flooding is still going to be one of the bigger issues. And then we finally start to change up the narrative starting tomorrow into the weekend. And then we get into next week, which has nothing but a lot of question marks on it. My fear on that, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer on a Thursday here, is that we may get back into perhaps another MCS setup for next week, which would be unreal. It would be something for the books that we're going through this. So a lot's happening here. So let's, as always the case, you guys can comment. You're already doing that. I see everyone. I see Tommy and I see Tanya. Hello, Angela. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Angela, we had the loud thunder this morning, thunderstorms. Hello, Shonda. Good to see you. Hope everything's well in Jeffersonville. Hello to Laura as well. As I try to, hopefully my voice will make it, as I try to go through this and explain, just like you guys have done in the past few days, and I appreciate you all. For those that are the veterans here of the blog, I know your names quite well. You guys are really good about helping and answering some of the questions that people may bring up while I'm talking. Please continue to do that. That does help. I trust you all. You're like my junior meteorologist, so I appreciate it. And I will get to most of the questions at the end, of course, once we get past explain it all, because I really want to do that first. And then hopefully I will be able to answer everything in your mind before you get to having to ask a question at all. Okay, fair enough. Here we go. All right, let's start with live view. This is in outlets over into Simpsonville. Hazy, right? Because we had those downpours this morning. Still got a few that are trying to still hold on radar. But in general, they were not able to produce some flash flooding, which is good. I was worried about that. They kind of hit spots that really haven't been as hard hit as other areas. So it kind of helped on kind of teaming that down. And they were moving a bit today versus being very, very, very slow. So that did help. But some, yes, like Angela mentioned, a little bit of a loud wake-up call for this morning. We're in a quiet period now that is only going to last just a few hours. And then we're going to ramp things up here into the afternoon. Before I get into that, let me take a look again at that impressive amount of rain we've had. This is a radar estimate of the rainfall, and this is since Monday. And I'm showing you this because the drought update came in, and I will, let me show you that real fast. I'll come back. Because you see all that heavy rain we've had this week, and the drought index came in, and it's still showing a moderate drought that is across the bluegrass area of Kentucky and even a low-end drought in Indiana. Again, the ground sampled on Tuesday. It missed some of these heavy rain events. So technically, yes, there's still a drought going on. But again, as I just showed you, I wasn't paying attention to that because that's not the case. We're okay. We're all right. All right, so let's get into some of the areas that I was looking at on rain. Adair County, your estimates are close to 8 inches in the eastern part of Adair County. About 7 inches, again, estimated in eastern side of Taylor County. But in Adair County, it was a pretty tough situation last night because the water was getting so high. They were getting to the point where they were likely going to have to evacuate people from neighborhoods. So it ended up with a pretty serious flash flooding event. I think the flash flood warning went all the way to about midnight because of that. So hope you guys there in Adair County. I know we got some that are watching Columbia especially. So if you're on, hope things have improved. Let me know. You can type that in chat. But no doubt areas that are showing up in the oranges and reds are most at risk of going quickly into a flash flood warning status today as the storms roll through, and we'll be watching that. Now, Louisville, it's a little odd here on how it estimated, because there's no doubt that it's a little off here on Prospect, because we know Prospect got about 5 inches of rain, right? The rest of the area, I think it's fair. 4 inches or so as we get into Mount Washington, into Spencer County around Taylorsville Lake, near Angela, where you're at there. Also, as you get into west of Louisville, very heavy rainfall. Interesting, though, to see that portions of downtown and around the airport area, a little bit on the lower end of the scale, and really the same story, too, for areas along 71. You've had some heavy rain, don't get me wrong. I'm looking at the entire week here as a general trend. In Indiana, you have had some very heavy rain as well that has taken place. Obviously, at least a 1 to 3, 1 to 4 inch type of setup for Indiana. Man, imagine. I know Aaron's on here. Aaron Wolf. Hi, Aaron. Imagine if this was all snow. That's what everyone says when we have heavy rain. Imagine this was all snow. How great it would be. I'm not going to tell you how much it would be, because it wouldn't apply directly, trying to equate that, but it would be a lot. It would definitely be a lot. Wouldn't that be nice for winter? Okay, anyway, I digress. All right, let's show you the radar now. There are the downpours we had this morning. Hey, they've moved out pretty quickly into the 75 corridor, heading into the Appalachians right now. We are fine here locally. We've got that hazy sky. Some of you got some sun. And then as we get into Indiana, there's two things happening. There's two, actually, MCSs, if you will, that are moving into the Ohio Valley right now. One that was a very powerful one that caused severe weather back in the plains last night during the overnight hours. Again, MCSs usually just keep trucking along for hours and hours and hours and hours. And this one has been doing just that in a very similar track. I feel like I've shown the same radar here the past 3 days. But this is moving along. There is a tail to this that does drip down there into Indiana. We will be monitoring that because we do have some fuel that's building up here in Indiana. We're not quite strongly unstable yet, or extremely unstable, that I think we will get later. But we're starting to get unstable. So there is enough fuel that there could be some development between now and noon in Indiana if that tail can to fire up there. There's not a lot of support that will happen, but at the same time, it has happened the past few days. We've seen some development. So just be aware if you're in Jackson County. In fact, you're going to get some rain. You're going to get skimmed with that. Let me get rid of the drawings. You're going to get skimmed with some of that regardless there until it looks like northern Jackson, maybe Jennings here in the next 30 minutes or so. It's going to scoot along your area. But we'll see if that can build down. Otherwise, our focus is here. This is where the next MCS is rolling in across areas of Missouri. And it's quiet, which is not good. You almost want the MCS to be active and powered up, because it would at least give us an idea on timing better, and it would have probably a lesser opportunity to really power up. In this case here, this is going to be a rapid development as it moves into Indiana here in the next few hours, because this one is weakening. This one's leaving the weather map. And with that happening, it leaves the gate open now for the second piece to fire up as we head into this afternoon. And here's a look at the fuel. You can see the Cape, how it is building up ahead of that second piece. Again, we don't have it too much yet in Indiana, but again, that's why I said there's a small chance for a shower for you all. But no doubt it's building up into Illinois, and that is going to continue to just become what we call strong or even extreme as the levels we go for Cape. And that is expected to really blossom as we climb into the 90s. For a couple of hours here, especially this afternoon. A lot of moisture is in the air, and that's the issue. The atmosphere is basically the same all week long here. We are not having cold fronts come through. They're just complexes of storms. So once they leave, you become stable for a while. That's naturally happening, but you quickly can go back unstable because moisture levels, you can get a lot of thunderstorm action if you have a lot of moisture in the air, even without sun. We always say, hey, sun's a bad thing, right? In many cases, that's true. And this one, you really wouldn't need it. Even if we stayed hazy and a bit overcast, we would still likely get an MCS to form a thunderstorm this afternoon. But we are going to get some sun. Let me show you the visible satellite, in fact. We will get some sunshine here today. And that will push us into the 90s for highs. The heat index, I think, is going to get to about 104, 105. later on for today. Hold on, let me get everything turned off here. Hold on 1 second because I had a lot of stuff triggered. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Let me move over here. Cross my T, dot the I, blah, blah, blah. All right. Finally, it's going to go away. Okay. So you can see we are going to get some sun breaking out right ahead of it as well. So that, again, is just allowing for the thunderstorm potential to certainly fire up. So what are we going to do with the Storm Prediction Center? Well, their outlook that's just updated is still a slight risk, and it's really focused on wave country here today. Is the highlight really of the entire United States is what's happening here for this afternoon. Now, there has been discussion from the Storm Prediction Center of going to enhance risk. They discussed that yesterday for the outlook for that event. They didn't do it. And then today they're like, it's so close to going to an enhanced risk, and it would likely be wave country that they would focus on. But it's such a conditional threat, too. There's some wiggle room here on whether or not it can get to that level of severe. Still can get severe, obviously, in active weather, but to get to enhanced, that reasoning for that would be a likelihood of at least some isolated tornadoes, and then you get a likelihood of wind gust of 70 miles per hour or higher. That's what will push it to enhanced level. And again, this decision today so far is they're not doing that. They're going to reevaluate. The new update will be at 12:30 today. Here's the tornado risk. Again, it is low end, and just like we saw with even Evansville, where they had the EF1 the other night, you can get EF0s and EF1s in this scenario. It's unusual to get anything higher than that, though, in an MCS type environment. Very unusual. Usually they're relatively on the low end of the scale, but still they cause damage. So even though we're saying low end of the scale, I don't want to downplay it. I mean, EF0 can cause problems. I've seen it happen. It can hurt people too. So we're all watching that, but there's no doubt the straight line wind is up there. It is going to be one of the bigger focuses because this will be a line of thunderstorms that'll be moving on by. Your hail potential is not quite as high today. Perhaps when they first fire up, they could be, but that's probably going to be Illinois and maybe Southwest Indiana that may get some of that hail. But we'll watch that because we only had about, I believe it was like ½ inch to nickel-sized hail yesterday, and it was Livonia and Henryville that picked up those hail reports. But that's not severe limit, so it was under that limit. So it's possible again today, but I don't want to play it up. All right, here's an issue too. This is what we call the PWatts, and these numbers may be a little hard to read, but this is the amount of moisture in the air, and it gives us a number that would typically be your rainfall rate in an hour's time. How much rain could you get if the storm were to stay stationary, or you see a repeating round of storms that keep developing in your area that can last at least 1 hour? And that rainfall rate right now is roughly at 2 inches over central Kentucky, but it goes over 2 inches with the MCS into Illinois. And that's the thing. You have a lot of humidity draped in the southeast and the Ohio Valley, but MCSs also pick up humidity, throw it on their back basically, and carry it with them. And so they bring in a higher rainfall rate when they move through, like we saw yesterday. The rainfall rate, by the way, in, say, eastern Jefferson County yesterday, got out over 5 inches was the rate per hour. Now, it got close to that in Prospect because you had about an hour of rainfall. So that's why you got nearly 5. But I don't see it getting to that level today because they will be moving. But it gives you an idea, even at 2 inches per hour, not only is that a lot of rainfall you can get in an hour's time, but the rate itself also tells us that visibility is awful driving through this. This is the kind of storm action and heavy rain you just cannot drive in. You have to really pull over. You can attempt it, but boy, you're not going to be able to see anything in front of you, and it's dangerous. There's a lot of hydroplaning that happens in this scenario. Travel in general just kind of locks up, and I foresee that happening again today as they move through. It is going to be a rush hour again that this is moving in. So if you're watching from work, or you know someone that's going to be getting off work today, 4 or 5 o'clock, it would be better if they can just stay and let it kind of pass by. It will pass by, and you'll be able to get out of work. Or maybe the boss will let you out early. I can write you a note. I doubt it will have any power whatsoever, but I will try to get you out of work if you want me to. But I'm just saying, just be aware that it is going to be some heavy rain with that setup there. All right, so here's what you want to know. Timing. I'm already seeing your questions on this. So pay attention. As I mentioned before, keep an eye on where you are on the map. Keep an eye on the clock on the top left. This is just a models idea. And as you guys know, models this week have been garbage. They have not been helpful at all. Now, so why am I showing it? Well, I do think the storyline of the her right now makes sense. So I am going to show it. And if it locks on to this today, it's, congrats to her for finally getting something right here. But I do think the scenario is the most likely right now. So here we are. This is a snapshot at 3 o'clock. And we're getting into the upper 80s and lower 90s. It's hot, very humid out. And we should start to see the MCS, the tail of that, begin to form. Now, the core of that, and you can't see it, but the apex or the bowing part of an MCS, because MCS is, and I'm just drawing in general, not trying to draw in location, I'm just drawing. MCS is, again, kind of like a circle, if you will, and then they got a tail. They sometimes have a warm front to it. It almost looks like a mini low pressure, and they basically are. But you get into this portion here where it bows out. I think that is going to head more toward Indianapolis. And that could be an issue for them for a very powerful winds. They could be an enhanced risk too if that were to develop. But for us, we got to watch, at least when it approaches, the bottom portion of the MCS. We call this, and if you can get rotation, we call these tail end Charlies. We've said that before, and that's where you get isolated tornadoes on the very tip of it, because tornado development, you can happen in several different scenarios, but in a typical environment, if you have thunderstorm cells that are south of the flow of where it is spinning, it is going to have a tough time becoming a tornado. It is going to be disrupted and blocked by cells congesting to the south. But when you have nothing south of it, it becomes a little more dangerous to watch and see if there is a tail end Charlie or tornado, because it has nothing to compete with at that point. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Okay, let me be clear. I'm just trying to explain the science of the scenario that could play out and what we're going to be watching for later on today. All right, that's 3 o'clock. Let's move this along. Here we go. This is 5:30. This is when they're approaching Indiana. Now, MCSs vary in speed, so this could be slower or faster than what I'm showing you. Again, this is just a tool that we're using as guidance. I think in general, that's a fair window, about 5:30. Indiana at that point should be impacted by showers and thunderstorms that could certainly be severe. It's likely to be severe, in fact. We get into about 7 o'clock. That's when they approach Louisville. And at that point, we're dealing with very heavy rain. Look at temperatures still in the 80s. And we got 87 as a snapshot here for Bardstown and 77 in Louisville. We saw that yesterday. We even cooled down in the 60s in some areas yesterday with the heavy rain. But this is going to be, again, very heavy rainfall. This is where we need to watch for damaging winds that can develop. We'll keep an eye on these tail end Charlies, make sure they don't do anything. And then we keep advancing this. All right, here we go. This is about 9 o'clock tonight. The majority of it at that point should be past Louisville by 9. And now we're done with much of it settling to the south. Notice the tail, though, does curl up. And that's something we've seen every night. The majority of the wind field pushing east is going to carry it along, but the tail kind of just drags behind it. And the flow is a south flow in the Ohio Valley. So once the MCS leaves behind the tail then begins to lift up again. So the problem with that is that overnight tonight, we may see this zone, this tail, try to redevelop again right into central Kentucky for the overnight. And that may lead to not really a severe threat, but more of a flash flooding issue that could still happen overnight. If this were to materialize, then this will carry us into early on Friday. We've seen this past few nights, but we've been lucky and avoided any issues. But that chance is there again tonight. So we'll see it. So we got the initial round of storms, and then we've got the tail portion that may try to at least provide some scattered storms into the overnight that we'll just have to monitor and see how that plays out. And then we get into Friday. Finally, we actually have a big low pressure, the main low pressure that has really kind of been spinning up all this mess. It drifts through the Ohio Valley. So this is not an MCS scenario. We actually will have a good north flow that'll be moving in. You could get some scattered showers and thunderstorms, but it's a north flow and not a south wind. So your severe weather gets cut down. Can't rule out a few damaging wind gusts in a couple of these cells. We'll have to watch that for Friday afternoon. There is a severe risk. It's a low wind severe risk, but it's there. And you can get, if it's cool enough, I don't think this one's going to be cool enough to get cold air funnels, but sometimes you can get some funnel clouds in this scenario on the backside of the low. So that is possible. I wouldn't rule it out. But either way, I think it's just going to be a tamer setup as we get into Friday. And the low itself is going to keep kind of spinning. It's a big, massive low in the Ohio Valley. Once it gets into eastern Kentucky, it's going to take a majority of the rain chance with it. So if you're looking at the weekend, trying to figure out which day you're going to enjoy for the weekend, I would say Sunday is going to be a lot better for you than Saturday will be as far as a rain chance will be. It doesn't mean that Saturday is going to be horrible. It just means that if you want to avoid a rain chance, Sunday has a better chance to avoid all that. But it will be hot. All right. So prepare for that. Okay. It moves on by and then we quiet down. So timing on this, and this is where we're at for now, and I'm going to adjust it. And I went bold here and went 100% based on the data I'm looking at. So we'll see here. Could be a bust, but I'm going to go with it. We'll keep low rain chances in to see if there's any isolated little pop-ups that can form in Indiana the next couple of hours. But again, so far we've been lucky on that and avoiding it. But then we get into the 4 to 5 o'clock window. That's when the MCS drops in. We get active through 6, 7 o'clock, and then it shifts to the south. I think this is pretty easy, right? Self-explanatory. We've had this every day this week. Nearly the exact same timing. So we're becoming professionals at this. So just everyone's asking about timing. It's been the same every day this week. So whatever your plans are that have been involving that time frame, expect the same problems again today. So the alert day will focus on that period more than anything. All right. So let's get into some of your questions. What can I answer for you that I haven't explained so far? Lightning. What we were saying about lightning, somebody said something. My storm reverse cat. Gizmo. I love that name. I think not Reed Timmer's dog's name is Gizmo. I think it is. Whoops, right under the comment. There it goes. We'll have to file a complaint. Okay, well, we're collecting letters. We'll file a complaint to you, Morgan, there on that one. The lightning has been, as we always say, prolific, and it will be again today, just because humidity is so high. You're going to get these wild strikes in the clouds, a kind of a purplish look to the bolt. You will see that with a high humidity scenario. So you photographers out there, Michael Montgomery, storm chasers out there like Jason Hamilton, you guys that are good at taking photos, just be aware that this is going to be a good photo opportunity again as it moves on by. Could be some pretty wild shelf clouds coming in. Let's see. Destiny, do you think we'll get a tornado watch today? I don't think so. MCSs, you rarely get a tornado watch for MCSs. You really do. Because straight line winds are the bigger threat than a tornado threat would be. So I think a severe thunderstorm watch is what we're looking at, not a tornado watch. I would be surprised if they went to that level, is what I'm trying to say. But watch boxes, in this scenario, it's tough. Back when I was a kid, tornado watches would come out very early in the day for even night storms. They would issue a tornado watch in the morning for the entire day, basically, because we didn't have the data to really narrow down timeframes. We just knew the environment was bad for the day. So they would just throw out a big watch box. You probably remember the days on the Weather Channel. It was just a big red box. Didn't have counties involved in it really. But they would throw a big box out. And in some cases, it would include all of Indiana and Kentucky for the entire day. That's how those scenarios used to be handled. Now the watches get issued sometimes as the severe weather is happening. And I think that is confusing. Nothing against NOAA and SPC on that, but I think it is confusing when you keep issuing watches while you're dealing with active warnings. The weather radio is going off for that, because I think everyone's like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, of course I got to watch. The severe weather's coming my way. So anyway, I'm kind of on a soapbox on that. I think watches need to come out early, almost like they did when I was a kid. Not as early as that, but earlier. And I'm hoping today they do that. They've been pretty good on getting these watches out for these MCSs. It's just the placement hasn't been exact, which is, that's to be expected. So they've been just kind of adjusting it as it goes along. But I think a bigger box for this MCS would solve that. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. Yeah, Jessica, we'll have to wait for mesoskeleton. You guys are such meteorologists. I love it. I'm ready to retire, guys. So somebody needs to hurry up and apply because I'm tired. Yeah, mesoskeletal discussion of SBC. Yes, those are, they call them MCDs. We usually push those out on social media when we get them. They're really the watches of today, in my opinion. I think they are more valuable as a watch than the actual watch. But when MCDs are issued, it gives you a heads up that watches may be coming. Yeah, we're probably going to get MCD at some point. It may take a few hours here, but I think we will. There's Jason. Hi, Jason. Respect that polygon and the MD with the tour possible anywhere. Yeah, you're right. The tags are really interesting on warnings. I love it. I think it's great that they put in there radar indicated or observed or considerable when it comes to a damage threat, whether it's flooding or wind. I think those tags on these warnings have been one of the best things they've done from the Weather Service. I love it because I think it really narrows, it helps us out too on communicating to you guys if we have confirmation. Majority of the severe thunderstorm warnings that we have are radar indicated, which means we have not had a confirmation of damage on the ground or anemometer has recorded that certain speed. So radar indicated doesn't always guarantee severe, but it's possible. When you see observed, that means they've had reports from other emergency managers, storm chasers, whatever the case is, of damage or measured winds. It's a little more serious. When you get into a high threat level though on wind, they change the tag to considerable. When you get considerable, you got to really pay attention, and you never want to see the tag of catastrophic. It's rare to get catastrophic. I've maybe have seen it twice that's been issued in our area since they've been doing tags, but you can get that for any element, whether it's wind, flooding, or tornado. You can get considerable, or catastrophic. I hope we never see that, but just kind of explaining to you guys the different levels and those tags. Pay attention to those when we put them on the screen. And even if you get warnings, you will see what that is listed. And I really think that's a great tool to have for you guys. All right, let's get to another question. Tabitha, driving to Indianapolis Friday afternoon. You'll have spotty downpours as you drive, but you're likely to have majority of the time it'll be dry, so you'll be fine. No problems. All right, Ron, here's a thought. You're a meteorologist. Why don't you do the alert and not rely on the Weather Service to go with it? Well, that's a dangerous thought too at the same time, Ron. Sometimes we do say we feel like a warning should be issued here, or go ahead and take cover because we feel like, this is going to produce a tornado. So we will kind of lead you guys in the direction that we think the warnings will go, whether it's taming down and they're going to be canceled or one is likely to get issued. We do that often. So in a way, we kind of do that. But I think it is the Weather Service that needs to control that. And why is that the case? Because they actually not only have a team of people watching the radar, but they are getting the majority of the emergency manager data coming into them. We don't always get that in TV stations. So that is crucial. And that is crucial for them to know what to do with the warning too. And so when they get all that data, that helps us out. And I think having it go to one central place is a lot easier than every TV station trying to do it. Can you imagine if we all issued our own tornado warnings? How confusing that would be for you guys. And I think that's a dangerous threat. I think it needs to be one spot. So I understand what you're saying. And we kind of, again, Ron, lead everyone on a warning status. But as far as issuing all that, I think it still needs to stay where it is. When it comes to the Weather Service warnings, when it comes to the big stuff, SBC and severe weather, we're already doing that. That's why we have alert days. That is our way of going with severe weather or not. Sometimes we agree with SBC and sometimes we don't. That's fair. So glad we moved everything from Louisville to VV, Indiana in a little bit. All right. Hope you're doing all right, Ashley. Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on that. I think everyone, as far as travel, any plans today, just be aware the afternoon is going to be the rough part coming into the area. Justine, you take your job very seriously. I do. I very much do. I'm very passionate about weather and keeping you guys safe. This is my home area. I grew up here. I grew up in Okolona. I still live in Okolona. And my family's in Mount Washington as well. So this is my home, and I'm very passionate, as the entire team is, about trying to keep you guys updated. This is a personal thing for us. All right. So when we see like a damage report and it's getting near my mom, or if I have a damage report from my brother, I get worried because at the same time, I can't really contact them because I'm on air talking to you guys. The only time I've ever had to leave on air coverage and make a phone call was the Henryville tornado. My brother lived in Henryville, and I couldn't get a hold of them until later that night. It was a terrifying day for all of us, but that was a very terrifying moment, even for me personally, because I just didn't know. I didn't know if my nieces were okay. I didn't know anything. So it's for us, it's very personal here at Wave. It very much is. Cape values this afternoon, Angela. I think about 4,000, maybe 5,000. We may get that. It's possible. So it's going to be up there. Thanks, Judy. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're very, very passionate. Wait until I get to the snow talk. That's when I really go crazy. And I drive a lot of you crazy with that. It's a very polarizing topic, is snow around here, but I kind of love it at the same time because Louisville always gets so worked up on snow, Wave country in general. And everyone always says, we move to Michigan if you love snow so much. Well, no, because they're used to it up there. They don't get excited about it or passionate about it. Here, it doesn't happen as often. So when it does happen, it's exciting. The kid comes out in all of us. So that's why I'm that way. So I'm never going to move north. You can try to get me north, but it's never going to happen. Okay, let's see. Christian. Are we going to get overnight weather like the last few days? The afternoon and evening round is going to be the main round. The overnight round is iffy on that tail to see if it redevelops and curls up. So right now we have the chances in. Whether or not it spikes to a higher chance, Christian, we'll have to stay tuned. Stay tuned on that one. You waiting for snow talk, Kathy? All right, fair enough. I am too. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, next week. Okay, I want to get you guys to that because I'm seeing questions on that. So I think you guys are good on this setup this afternoon. Okay, so it's more the same as what we had the past few days. I just want you guys to know that it's the plan for it to still hit is there. Okay, so you guys are clear on that. I'm not going to run that in the ground. So what happens in next week? Well, next week is still very complex because we have a very active pattern for the northern latitudes here. For Canada and the northern United States. A little unusual to see that for summer. 2004 is what this reminds me of a lot. And at the same time, the tropics are just loaded with moisture. They're active. Is Debbie going to form or not? We have, a tropical low that wants to go to a tropical storm or even a hurricane on some of the models, but it doesn't know exactly where to put it on either side here of Florida. The GFS, which I'm not going to show you, but I'll tell you, it takes it east of Florida to Charleston, and then back to Florida, over to Louisiana, and then back to Florida again. So it, which would be probably the wildest track in history of tropical systems if that were to happen. The problem that the models have, though, is that we have such an active setup going on here that the tropics, again, do not like that. They do not like fronts. They do not like active weather ahead of it. They want high pressure in advance of it. So because of that, it is stuck. It doesn't know where to go. So there's going to be a problem here with possible Debbie, if it gets to that level of being named, of how that will play out. Will that eventually impact us? I don't know. It would have to be a situation where everything calms down here, and then there's a window for it to go north. We'll see. Otherwise, the problem is that we were hoping to get this cold front in next week. I was so excited about this. But today the data is really struggling on what to do with the front. All right. It tries right here to push through, but it's not a clean cut setup. So what happens is then you get into a curl again, if you will, lifting up on the tail, and you're going to get back to getting possible MCSs that may form again into the Ohio Valley. We may get back to that flow. You can see how the Cape in the yellow and red angle there. This is the Euro, by the way. We don't want to see that. That would take us all the way into next weekend too. So that's not for sure, but there's no doubt that a lot of the data for next week has gotten muddier. So there's still some questions on whether or not we're going to have a clean cut front in here and get a break, or are we going to be busy for a while? It is certainly possible. All right, let me show you the 10-day. Let's get to that and show you full screen. This is where we stand now on it. Again, into the 90s this afternoon. Again, the heat index over 100 at times. So it is going to be hot for a few hours before the storms do hit. Storms then hit. We get into tomorrow. It's a scattering of thunderstorms. Our severe risk is low tomorrow, lower than it has been the entire week, but it's not zero. So be mindful of that. I think if there's anything tomorrow, it'll probably be hail that would trigger a warning. And then we get into Saturday, rain chances there, but it's low. Sunday, again, pick of the weekend. It will be hot, but it is the pick of the weekend on being dry. Next week is hot, early in the week especially, and we're going to keep the chances relatively low, and we'll just see what happens here with the fronts and whether or not we can get a clear-cut clearing of moisture, this tropical moisture getting it out of here. I don't know if we can. We may not be able to, but we're going to try. We're going to absolutely try our best there and wishing for it, right? All right, guys, I appreciate you all. I got to run and get ready. Oh, we got a spammer in the chat. We have not had a spammer in a long time. Sorry about that. You're gone now. Okay. Obviously, we don't have the shows today because of the Olympics, but remember our newscasts at 3, 4, and 5 are streaming right here on the app, on the news app, on social media this afternoon. But I got a feeling that we're not going to have newscast. I got a feeling we're going to be on again doing weather. So remember, that is where we're going to be today. If there's severe weather that it gets wild and crazy, is on streaming, not on, unless it's a dangerous scenario for Louisville, especially, we will interrupt on TV on Wave. But more than likely, we're going to stay on streaming. So just make sure you know where to go and tell your friends and family that's where they need to go to if they want weather information, because that's where we'll be. All right, guys. You're awesome. Love y'all. Y'all take care of each other. Be safe this afternoon. And we'll keep you updated on this. All right. Take care. We'll see you soon.